Rock it. All right, welcome to episode 199 with Jim Beavers, which you come in, we've been up here before, just the whole setup wasn't up.
Yeah, I've never seen the lights up here.
You're talking on the mic there.
I'm sorry, I've never done this before.
You're new at this.
This is literally my first podcast, my first BobbyCast. I'm sorry.
Have you ever done a podcast?
Never.
Oh, you haven't done any?
No,
Oh,
man.
good. Well, welcome.
I'm like, just,
But you've talked in a microphone before in your life, right?
Of course I've used a microphone.
Here's my story with Jim real quick. Okay. So we go out, and Jim and I
we go out.
We
All right.
We go out, and we're in Amarillo and El Paso one weekend. And I think it was El Paso where you came up on stage.
Or you called me up on stage.
Yeah,
Let's be.
We're playing. Jim has been writing songs with me and a little bit with Eddie too, for this record we're about to cut. And by the time you hear this, it may already be out. But so Jim's in the audience, and I'm like, Jim Beavers, come up and play. I said, Jim's written such songs as, 5150 from Dierks Bentley and Red Solo Cup and Watching Airplanes. I'm like, Jim, come up. And the crowd's like, oh, wow, we got a real life Nashville songwriter. And I'm like,
Yeah.
clapping for you.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And Jim walks up and does like 3 words. I was like, thank you. Good night, everybody. And we're like, come on.
Well, I had no idea. I didn't know
That
you
was
were
the
going to call
point.
me.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I didn't want to give you a heads up.
Yeah, I know.
It's not, because if I go, because for 2 days we'd been together just writing songs on the road, having, talking.
Right.
And I said, hey, I'm going to call you up on stage tonight at the end of the show.
Yeah.
You would have spent a lot of the time that we were creating going, oh, dear God, I got to go sing in front of 2,000 people.
I would have been thinking about it the whole time, and I wouldn't have been able to enjoy your show. I was trying to watch your show just to because I hadn't seen it before, so I was really trying to be like an audience member, and that would have changed my point of view. So I'm glad in retrospect that you didn't. But,
So strategic move on my part.
So strategic, like strategery in the highest level. Yeah, no question.
And I think you came out and did a little bit of Red Solo Cup,
Yep.
and then you wrote Drink a Beer, and you went out and you went, drink a beer. Thank you very much. And we're like, come on.
I just gave him a chorus. I didn't know how long you wanted me up there. I was just trying to get off stage.
But you see how tightly loose we run a show.
Yes, I do now. Yes.
Like you would look at it and go, oh, they don't know what they're doing. They're just out there doing whatever they want as loosely as possible. However, not the case. A lot of it is packaged to look like we're running loose.
And there's an art to that. And I know that there's a high level of skill to
moderate level of skill.
Well, but it's like we kind of when we go into the studio, if you're cutting demos or even cutting a record or something, you may have very clear ideas of what you think you want to hear, but you've also got to allow for some magic to happen that you didn't plan on, whether it's the musicians or just a happy accident. So I think you obviously you do a lot of this, so you know how to balance it out. But I wasn't ready to come on stage. It was a blur.
But you did have your nice T-shirt on.
I did have my nice T-shirt.
Because even before the show, you were like, I got my nice,
Yeah.
my ZZ Top T-shirt.
Yeah, my show shirt. Yeah, it's nice and tight and black.
I didn't want you to wear your show shirt and not be able to do a show.
Mm-hmm. Had man spank sewed into
Yeah.
the inside of it. It had everything.
You look great.
Thanks, bro. Thank you.
All right, so we're here. I'm going to run through before we start talking about the life of Jim Beavers.
Oh, man.
I'm going to mention and play some of the clips from songs. We'll come back to them. 5150 from Dierks Bentley. The song went number 1. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Wrote that one. Am I the Only One from Dierks Bentley?
Am I the only one who wants to have fun tonight?
Went number 1. Congrats on that.
I appreciate that.
Sideways from Dierks Bentley.
And it's hey now, here
All up tempo, all fun.
play nothing slow.
Went number 1.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you
that.
again, Bobby.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I'm very congratulatory today.
Congratulatory.
Why Don't We Just Dance from Josh Turner? You wrote that one.
Why don't we just dance?
Yeah, right on the hook, too. I like that.
Went number 1. Drink a Beer.
So I'm gonna sit right here.
Number 1. Wrote that.
Still sound good.
Felt Good on My Lips. Tim McGraw went number 1. So we'll walk through some more of those in a minute
Wow.
and some other songs you wrote. But I
Yeah.
wanted to highlight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 number 1s.
Okay.
And you have a lot of number 2s and some songs that I thought went number 1. For example, we'll come back to Red Solo Cup, which you wrote, which only peaked at number 9,
Yeah.
but I think maybe remembered more than any of those number 1s.
Oddly enough, I mean, Red Soul Cup it's a song that I have to talk about on a weekly basis. Somebody brings it up.
You do.
It had a huge impact, and it was. You and I talked about it one time. It was like that song to me is a perfect example of that song was wanting to be written because that notion of good times and that cup was just floating in the ether, and somebody just had to put a name to it. And that's all we did. It was like it was just a
But more than that,
What?
more than that, you're not giving yourself enough credit. The songs don't just float.
yeah.
You have to be. Why don't we just dig in on this one for a second, then? Because I like that. First of all, let's relax.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
get-
maybe
there you
maybe
go.
I'm not saying the song itself or the lyrics were floating, but you can't sit down and manufacture or predict what happened with that song. I guess is what I'm trying to say is that 1 and 1 really did make 3. It was like
But who noticed that that was such a part of everybody's everyday life that you go, huh?
where'd the idea come from?
Yeah, like there's so many red cups.
Yeah.
No one's writing about that.
Well, I mean, I had the idea for a long. All songwriters, or most songwriters, I assume, now in our phones, just keep a running list of any little tidbit. Could be an idea, could be just a hook, could be anything. And my son and I were going to a Vanderbilt football game, and he was a little boy, and we were walking through the tailgate area, and I only remember this in retrospect because the song became so big, but I remember walking through, and I noticed for some reason everybody was drinking out of these red cups. I was like, red cups, man! Everybody's got the red cup. So I pulled my phone out and I typed in red plastic cup is what I wrote down, and didn't think anything else about it because it joined a list of, I don't know, 2,000 ideas or more that most never turn into anything, but I always, on a discipline, just try to write them down. But then within a couple of weeks, either I think I was at my house and I was walking through the room, and on TV it was either a commercial or a movie or something, but there was a scene of playing beer pong and they had the red cups again, and so that really made my spidey sense tingle. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Is this
Say whatever you
family
want.
rated?
Yeah. It doesn't have to
And,
be. Take it to porn if you want. And this is not.
And so that made me immediately go back, well, there it is again. And so then I thought there was something there, and I thought, maybe, I don't know, I don't really believe this, but maybe the universe was telling me that there's something there. And then I was sitting out by myself one night on my back deck playing my guitar and smoking a cigar, where a lot of ideas and songs have gone up and hits have started for me. I don't know why, so that's why I smoke a lot now. No, I need to smoke more. And I just it just kind of popped into my head, just that chorus, and then I got together with guys, the Warren brothers and my brothers, so it was unique that there were two sets of brothers, and we were just trying to make each other laugh. We never in a million years thought anything would happen with that song or anybody would cut it, so it was just crazy, still is.
So whenever you decide to do that song, and I mean you write it and you say you didn't expect anyone to cut it, like what do you do with it?
We actually, the true story is we were over at a studio in Berry Hill called Station West that a buddy of all of ours named Luke Wooten runs, and I think the Warren brothers and the Beavers brothers, we call ourselves the Warren Beavers, which is obvious. We were writing, I think, every other Wednesday or something. We just had a regular writing point. We also wrote Felt Good on My Lips. It was on kind of that same crew. We were just trying to come up with something, and Luke Wooten was walking by and heard us in there singing. He poked his head. He goes, "What is that?" Well, it's just a stupid song. We're just cutting up. It's about a red cup, whatever. Anyway, he loved it. And that day before we left, he came and he said, "Y'all come in here and just put it down. Just put it down." So we literally walked into the studio. He had one microphone set up, and we just cut it one time for him because he wanted it. And then that is what got out. And
And how does the song get out? What does that mean? What does that even mean?
I
Get
think
out.
people started forwarding it around to each other, and then we actually made a little kind of fake CD that had like 5 or 6 songs on it that we had written. And Red Solo Cup we put on there, and Felt Good on My Lips was on there as well. And it was more just kind of a vehicle to pitch the songs we had written to the town, so artists would maybe cut them, or at least somebody would laugh and have fun. Anyway, so Red Solo Cup just started jumping out, and everybody was talking about it, and people started calling us, wanting to write with us because they heard it. I mean, I could have never predicted it. Anyway, I don't know exactly how it happened, but somehow it got to, the story I've heard is it got to Toby Keith out on the road somewhere, and people were listening to it on their buses, and he heard it, and he said, the story he tells is, the song ended. He said, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Play it again," and they did. He said, "I'm going to cut it," and they did. So that was it, man. It was
Did
just-
anyone before Toby come and go, "Hey, I want to cut it"?
Tim McGraw at one point said he was going to cut it and put it on his record like as a hidden track or something.
Oh,
And
not the Target, the dreaded
yeah,
Target extra
maybe
track.
the Best
Oh,
Buy special
yeah.
limited edition only in the Southeast. I don't know how serious he was, but
And that didn't come to fruition.
no, it didn't. As far as I know, it may be so hidden. I mean, right?
It may be on one Target CD
so
somewhere.
secret, so secret. No, it never did happen.
Is
So
that exciting when they go, "Hey, Tim McGraw's thinking about it," and then is it deflating when they go, "He's not gonna do it"?
yeah, I mean, you can't help but get your hopes up. At least me, I can only speak for myself. I still get my hopes up, about songs that I feel a strong connection to, or just that I think are really great, and I really wish somebody would sing them or that people could hear them. And you're inevitably you're going to be disappointed about 95% of the time. And I, s- I've gotten a lot better at not getting emotionally invested in songs, but I still do. I still do. I think if you lose that ability, then you may lose your reason for writing. So I don't want to lose it all, but I have gotten better at kind of smoothing out the emotional wavelengths of highs and lows and getting your hopes up and stuff like that.
With a song like Red Solo Cup, which peaked at 9, which is what I'm looking at here, I would have thought, had you just asked me, that was a number one song with the impact that it had kind of on the country music culture. It lasts. I still play it sometimes inside of our dance party.
Yeah.
Like, that's still a fun song. And just monetarily speaking, does that song make anywhere close to, let's say, I Felt Good on My Lips? Because of the downloads. Like,
Probably not. If you just want to get in the weeds of the business, no. The majority of our money is all made, on how long a song stays in the top 5. To be honest, and the way things are now with songwriters, it's like you really can only make a living if you're having hits on the radio. I mean, streaming has not been good to us. Um, there's really not a lot of synchronization rights to be spoken of. So, no, I would say that Felt Good on My Lips probably made more money than a Red Solo Cup, although Red Solo Cup, I'm sure, had a bigger, cultural impact. Now, it may have sold, Red Solo Cup probably sold more, copies. And like I said, like you said, without question, if I play a writer's round or something, even people who don't know or like country music, they always know that song. That's the one I know I can do. And they'll go, oh, yeah, my cousin
yeah.
got drunk to that or something. So
I think everybody's cousin got drunk to that.
yeah,
Every
yeah,
cousin has
yeah.
gotten drunk to that song.
Maybe lots of cousins.
You grew up in Texas?
I did.
Where? What town?
I lived in a town called Garland for a while, and then I went to high school in Jacksonville, which is in East Texas, not far from Tyler, and part of the Piney Woods, which I know you grew up in the pines of.
Well, I grew up in
of
Mountain Pine, Arkansas.
I
though.
mean, you even have the word pine in
yeah,
the
I
name
guess
of your town.
we're also
so-
probably cousins.
Yeah.
if that's
well,
the case.
that's how it works down there.
And you go from there. And did you study music in school? Were you that kid? Were you the music kid?
I didn't study. No, I played. I never studied music, but I played. I started playing banjo when I was probably about 13. I was at a church camp, and I saw a guy named Bobby Porter playing banjo one afternoon at one of our little, where all the kids have to walk over and listen to somebody do something. And I remember it was a real watershed kind of moment. I was very mesmerized by it, and I was taking lessons from him, a week later. And so I played banjo for a while, and I started playing guitar just a couple of years after that. But I
Shit.
never formally studied anything.
You have to tell your folks I'd like a banjo.
Yeah, I did. I had to go in and say, Mom, Dad, I have some bad news. What is it, son? I want to take banjo lessons. Oh, God, anything but that, please.
So how did they get you a banjo? They go to the pawn shop. Where do you get a banjo? Music stores have
Yeah, I
banjos?
went with Bobby. He took me, and he took me to a music store and helped me pick one out. Yeah.
Were you the banjo kid at school?
Yeah, I don't think there are any other ones, so I probably was the banjo kid.
When
And-
they were like, "There's little Jimmy
Yeah,
Banjo."
Yeah, oh, Mr. Banjo. They call me Banjo Beavers, a couple of guys.
Ah, yeah, it works.
And I know you love Steve Martin.
I do.
And I loved Steve Martin. And I had the 45 of King Tut, and on the flip side was him playing a banjo song, and that also was another reason why I wanted to learn. 'Cause it's called Sally Gooden. It's an old banjo standard that he plays. It's the flip side. So
So you're studying. Oh no, you're learning. Studying, learning to me is the same. You're not studying it
I
in
didn't.
school.
No.
How were you learning it? Were you just playing? Were
Just
you
playing. I had an older brother who
books?
played a little bit, and I had a good friend named Dale. He took guitar lessons from Bobby. I took banjo lessons from Bobby, and he was my best friend. And on the weekends, this is pre-good video games or any kind of cell phone or any kind of major. I mean, that's all we did. We sat around, we picked, and we listened to records, and we tried to slow them down, figure them out. I was, I had a cassette, and I would wait for the radio to play my favorite song, and I'd miss the intro, but I'd get the rest of it, and I'd sit there and try to learn the song, and I think that tactile, relationship with music, which we don't have anymore. I think that was real, no pun intended, real instrumental in just me, being all in and being into it. And then, you start meeting other people and weirdos like you, and you start putting together bands, and, you just do it because you love it. You're not really thinking why.
Right.
You just want to do it.
So whenever you're going to school, going to college, are you wanting to pursue music?
No, I went to school at Baylor in Waco, Texas, and I was a business and broadcasting major. Um, they probably didn't have any kind of commercial music program that I know of. I'm sure they had a music program, but I had no interest in learning how to read music or being in an orchestra. That never. I wanted to go play in honky tonks, so I did that.
So you kept playing though, as you were
Yeah,
learning
yeah.
business, you kept playing music.
Oh yeah, yeah. I played in a band. In fact, I played in a band. Played a couple of bands, but the band I ended up playing at Baylor. And back then, this is the late '80s, and man, country was really about to boom big in the early '90s. But in the late '80s in Texas, it was a thing, man. And you could make for a college kid. I mean, I made good money on the weekends, and there's so many dance halls and places down there, and they're still there, and everybody danced. And so you just go play top 40 covers. Man, that was great for my playing and writing. I had to, hey, we need to learn this new Dwight Yoakam song for this weekend and stuff like that. So, and that band was called Sons of the Desert. They actually ended up getting a record deal after I left to move up here, and then
They
got a
got
record
better
deal.
when you
Yeah,
left.
the guy that replaced me was
Yeah,
a
I'm
really
sure.
good
Couldn't have
lead
been
singer.
worse.
I mean, no kidding. He was a really good lead singer.
Oh, were you the singer?
Yeah, yeah. I was kind of the main singer. And then a guy named Drew Womack replaced me, and then they came up here and got a record deal after I had already moved up here. So it was kind of a weird circle.
Weird, and were you jealous a little bit?
I really wasn't, because I had no interest in being an artist or having a record deal or being involved with any of that stuff. I was more just happy and thought it was cool and happy for them, and thought it'd be an interesting thing to be a piece of, So
So you moved to Nashville after graduation from Baylor.
correct.
So 91.
Yep.
You move here, and what's the plan? What do you want to do?
I wanted to run a record company someday. That's what I want to do. My first job in town, I had a couple of unpaid internships. My first job was mailroom at Capitol, 15 grand a year, and maybe the happiest I've ever been to get a job, And so that was my first job here, and then I kind of moved into the finance department because they had a job opening, and I really didn't want to do finance, but it was the first way out of the mailroom, so I took it. And in retrospect, it was a really great opportunity to learn so much about just the business side of how everything, if you know where the money's going, then you kind of have to figure out everything else. And at that time, Garth was exploding. And so there was just so much financial stuff going on and so much energy at the label that it was a great educational experience for me. That's where I met Tom.
So my manager, Tom Betchy,
Yep.
was the guy who was like, hey, who I think you'll like? I think you like Jim Beavers. He kind of set us up on our blind date.
He did. He was my boss for a while. That's right.
And I was talking to him today. We were flying back from New York, and we were talking about some stuff. And he goes, "Let me tell you about Jim." I said, "What's up?" He goes, "That guy used to play guitar in his office when he should have been working."
That's exactly right.
It was like he should have been doing like what he's supposed to be doing, but we'd walk by and he'd be over there writing songs and playing guitar the whole time.
It's true. It's true. But I was just really quick with my work, and then I'd keep a guitar in my office, and I'd make up funny songs for people, and I'd write all that kind of stuff. So when I look back, it makes complete sense of what happened and kind of where I ended up. But at the time, I could never have predicted it or thought it would happen like this. That I'd be sitting here with you, or it's just.
Yeah, this is a big highlight of your life.
I mean, this is it. I mean,
sure.
I told my wife this is it, and we're moving back to Texas tonight.
You've hit the apex after
Tractor
this.
to U-Haul in your driveway right now.
You knew Leanne Womack from before Nashville?
High school. When I moved to Jacksonville, Texas, where I went to high school, she lived about a quarter of the mile down the street from me. And my dad was the new superintendent of the school district. And either her mom or dad worked for the school district. And my dad, on there, he came in and he had a 45, and I still have it. He said, "Hey, this is the girl that lives here, and she likes country music too." And her name's Leanne Womack, which is how we pronounced it. And it was a 45 of her singing a Patsy Cline song. And he said, "I don't know, you guys ought to." And anyway, I remember going down to Leanne's house and playing Judd songs and her singing. And so I was 16, And I saw her today, as a matter of fact. 30-something years later, I saw her today. So I ended up playing on the road with her some. Once she got her record deal, I was her road manager for a while. And
So you road manager and then played guitar some for her?
yeah, first, like my first gig with her was right when she got started in like '97. I went out as her road manager, and that was another great, just crazy experience where I got to learn about how the road works. And we were playing these huge tours and playing these George Strait Stadium sold out all day events, and then playing these little clubs where you got to, go get paid in cash and hope you make it back to the bus kind of stuff. So it was just really great educational. And then I went back and played on the road with her for a few years, like when There's More Where That came out, which is probably '05-ish.
Were you with her when I Hope You Dance It?
No, actually, that was during the gap where I wasn't with her. But
Probably why it was so big.
yeah, I mean, there's no
She was
question that.
influenced.
But the funny side note is going back to the Sons. I told you about the Sons of the Desert. They're the ones singing background on that song. They're the ones who sing time is a wheel and cut.
Yeah.
That's them. So the band that I started in college.
So you influenced that whole song is what you're saying.
I mean,
every part of that song was influenced
everything
by
but writer's credit, I feel. So yeah, the band I started in college and left ended up singing background on the hugest hit of my high school friend.
Pretty
Isn't
cool.
that crazy?
What happened to that band?
They, as the wheels of Nashville turn, I guess it just didn't work out.
Did they ever get a hit? Did they ever get a song?
I think they had a couple of marginal,
Yeah.
semi hits. Nothing big broke all the way through for them, and they were great. I think they were actually a little ahead of their time, if you ask me.
So you did the deal with Leanne. You wrapped up your second stint with her. Then what? Are you just a songwriter then?
Yeah,
Did
by
you
that
kinda
time I was songwriting. After I went on the road with her the first time, I ended up getting back in the label game. There was a Virgin Records for a hot minute here in town that Scott Hendricks opened, and I went and worked for them. I don't think we were open 2 years. And then I went and worked for Mike Dungan at Capitol, who I know you recently did a BobbyCast with, and at Capitol. And then they had a massive, 20% layoff, and I was one of those people. So I always, and at that point, I'd already been deciding and thinking, like, I think I'm in the wrong side of the business. I don't think I'm supposed to be doing the label stuff. I think I want to be writing. I'd been writing at home and just for fun, and had fallen into a couple of cuts. And like I said, in retrospect, now I know how unusual that is. And I just didn't see all the signs. And then by the early 2000s, I'd already had a pretty sneaking suspicion that I should be writing songs. So that's when when I got finally laid off from Capitol, that's when I said, all right, this is my chance. I think I had a little bit of severance pay or something. I had a brand new baby at home, and I was like, it's now or never, and thank goodness it worked. So it was really just like, I may have to go back to Texas if this doesn't work, because the label side doesn't want me. It kept not working out for me.
What was the first one that you wrote that kind of got a little play, and you're like, oh, maybe I can do this? Like, you got a little bit of radio
I got
play.
it. Well, not radio play. The first cut that made me think maybe this won't be as bad or as hard as I think. I got one on the My Town record from Montgomery Gentry, but it was just an album cut. But if you want to bring Dierks Bentley into this, I mean, that's what just absolutely saved me. Dierks I'd met because he was a newly signed artist on Capitol, and so he hadn't come out yet. And I'd met him not only at the label, but my brother was writing songs with him, and my brother ended up being his producer for like the first, I think, 4 records. But so Dierks and I just like guys kind of became buddies and went to lunch a few times, and then all of a sudden he got a record deal, and I think I was still working at Capitol, and I said, I don't know if you know, man, but I'm writing songs too. Oh, really? A label guy that writes songs or whatever. And we wrote one song. He ended up cutting it, which is, ask any songwriter, they'll be like, I got to write 30 songs to get one. Anyway, we wrote one song. He cut it, and then it was a single, and it was a hit. And it literally saved me and my family, and it gave me, I didn't have a publishing deal. I could not get a publishing deal in town. And so
What was the song?
it's called How Am I Doing? And I even wrote it under a pseudonym because I was still at the label. I wrote it under a name called Writer X, and it really pissed off a lot of people in town.
Because
they just pissed off may not be the right word. It created a lot of interest and it piqued a lot of people's curiosity of like we all try so hard to get our names on songs, and then there's somebody who's using an assumed name and who is it and all this stuff. So it was fun. It was a talking point for Dierks, and it wasn't that well kept of a secret, but like Red Solo Cup, 15, 17 years later, somebody still calls me Rider X every week. They just thought it was funny that somebody did that.
So this song, you wrote this song. Where did it hit? You remember?
Got number 4.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was the first song you wrote, like with Dierks.
With
You
Dierks,
just sat
first
down
and only, and yeah.
So does that open up other doors with Dierks specifically? Like if you have a hit with Dierks, top 5 song,
Yeah.
does he go, hey, we should get back together and write some more?
Well, with him, it did because we were and are friends. We have an actual real relationship, and so yeah, we then I mean, he went out and killed the road like he was gone 250 days a year, but started writing regularly. Oh, I'm making new record, and it wasn't like we were writing every week, but I would try to come up with ideas for him, and when he could squeeze a day in with me, we would write, and he's been the biggest factor of my career, to this date, and we're still great friends. And he's cut a bunch of songs of mine, and for other artists, a lot of times it's a lot of these other songs you played, I don't meet the artist until the number one party. Like it just got played for them and they liked it, and then they cut it, and you just had the right song at the right time. So the relationship really wasn't there, and sometimes you get one with them, and sometimes you don't see them again. So it's kind of weird.
What was the one where you were like, oh, I can't believe that artist has decided to cut my song? Like of all the artists, that's really weird that they're the one who liked that song.
Yeah. Wow. Well, besides Toby Keith anybody cutting Red Solo Cup, Josh Turner cutting Why Don't We Just Dance? I didn't know him, and I thought it was a great song. I do remember thinking, I think this would be a really big song of somebody, and he was the perfect artist to do it. But I didn't realize it until I heard him singing it. I was like, dude, that's it. It's like,
And you didn't know him.
No,
Didn't know him. Now, here's a question: after you, Josh Turner or Luke or even like Easton Corbin, after you have a hit with these artists, then do you like exchange cell phone numbers and can text them at any time, or is it just kind of like hello, goodbye?
it can be a little of both. It depends on my experience has been. It depends on where they are in their career. If it's Luke and he's already Luke Bryan, and he's just got people coming out the woodwork trying to write with him or get him songs, and it's only natural that these people are going to have a little bit of a more closed circle. It's not like, well, he heard a song you wrote, so now you're hunting and fishing and loving every day with him or something. So it's usually more like that. If you're coming around later in life and they're just hearing a song, you may have a little bit more of an open door to them. But I've never had another Luke Bryan cut. I've never had another Josh Turner cut.
Do you have Josh Turner's cell phone number?
I think I do.
Do you have Luke Bryan's?
No.
I texted him today. You want it?
You
Just
did?
hit him up. Be
Give
like,
it to
hey,
me.
Luke.
Just say it on the air and I'll write it
I
down.
did. Yeah. Can you imagine how pissed
Oh
he?
my God.
I
On
have
the air.
Luke on my phone 3 different times. I texted 2 people that aren't Luke anymore because I have it as Luke Bryan new, and Luke Bryan new real. And so, like, stop changing your number. Luke,
yeah.
you're not famous. Stop
Yeah,
having people
yeah.
chase you
Come on.
around.
Who's he
Yeah, the
think
most
he
famous
is?
guy in our format. How about Gary Allen? Do you have his number?
I have Gary Allen's number. I've written with him a couple times since Watching Airplanes. Yeah.
Here's Watching Airplanes, which peaked at number 2, the most frustrating.
It
of
actually got
positions.
to number 1 on one chart. So
Yeah, that's not the real chart, though. That's not the real chart.
I call it a
Not
number
the.
1, bro.
Do you?
I do. I say it's my first number 1. Of course. It was number 1 on like
Interesting.
air check.
I would contest that. I would raise my. If I was in the crowd, I'd be like, "Excuse me, sir."
No. Songwriters like if you sniffed it, if it was number 1 for half a chorus on Saturday night, it counts, man.
That's fair. Now here's what I say. I have a kids song that went number 1 on like 3 different charts. There's not really a kids official chart though.
Then it's
There's
number
like
one. It's a number 1
it was
song.
number 1 on iTunes for 2 weeks.
That's number 1.
It was number 1 on the Disney AirPlay.
Number 1.
Right. So I guess that counts. I
question.
can't make fun of it.
Any chart. It's my mom's favorite. It's my mom's favorite. Number 1. Number 1.
This was a jam though.
It's a jam. Still a jam.
Yeah.
They still play the crap out of this song. That's one of my favorite songs I've ever had out.
Did you write that with him?
No, I wrote it with Jonathan Singleton. Yep.
And so, but then you wrote with him afterward. You and Gary wrote other songs.
Not until probably 6 or 7 years after that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of wild.
I know.
That you become friends way later when you're not even connected.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Some of these writers are like they're best buddies with everybody, and they're hitting them up, and I don't know if I'm just not that kind of person, or if I don't know how to do it. I'm definitely not very good at it. I don't really get in. Always, I'd like to think, man, if they like my song, they like my song, and that ought to be good enough. But I'm not real good at working it. But yeah, you'll run into them. And like I said, there may be an open door like, hey, Gary, you should listen to a song this guy wrote, Watching Airplanes. Maybe that's as far as it goes. I don't know.
Billy Currington, you have his number?
I don't think so.
I'm going to say no to that one, too.
Yeah. You feeling a no at the way I'm looking
I'm feeling
at
a
you?
no because I know Billy a little bit.
Okay.
And I like Billy, but I don't have Billy's number. And once Billy comes up and he writes me on a piece of paper and he goes,
Yeah.
writes this thing down.
Yeah.
He's writing it and he folds it up.
Yeah.
And he takes my hand and he shoves it in my hand and then shuts my hand and goes, "It's for you." And I'm like,
Wow.
what is this? Is
What?
it a Billy art? Is it a Billy original? And I opened it up and it wasn't even his cell phone number. It was his email address. And he put his email down and was like, "Hit me up. We'll go surfing." One, I never surfed in my life.
Yeah.
And two, he didn't write his cell phone number down, which was weird. So I felt like he didn't give his cell phone number out. Maybe he doesn't
Yeah.
have a phone.
Was it an AOL.com address? Or
I do
anything,
think it
or-
was kind of an old
yeah,
school address
there
though.
you
It was
go.
like
Well,
it was like a
maybe-
Yahoo.
Maybe that was the artist version of the girl in the bar that doesn't want to give you her real number.
Maybe, but I didn't ask for it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't ask for anything. Yeah, he volunteered it.
Okay, all right.
You wrote "Don't." Here you go. Here's Billy Currington, "Don't." Now this, do you count this as a number one?
That was a number one.
Peaked at
What
2.
what chart are you looking at, man? I counted as a number one.
Okay, then number one it
Because
is.
at that time there were two charts. There was Billboard and Aircheck.
Okay.
And if either one of them got number one, we were throwing parties.
Great.
I'll tell you this. I went to a number one party for that song, and I went to a number one party for Watching Airplanes. So if that don't mean number one,
three,
I
four.
don't know what does.
How many number ones do you have? 9?
9.
Okay.
That I know of. Oh, no, that's kids.
That's-
Sorry.
Easton Corbin, "Loving You Is Fun."
Oh, it is. Isn't it fun?
Is this the number one?
No, that's a 4. Doesn't it sound kind of like a 4? Apparently, there's like some station that refuses to play him, so he can never have a number one. I'm probably
Did he?
divulging things.
No,
here.
but that's a thing where some people just won't play certain people if they really pissed them off.
That might have happened with him.
Which is detrimental. There's a few.
like big time.
Yeah,
in
there's
your,
a
in
few.
your world. Yeah.
And now I've called a few of them out publicly and they've stopped doing that a little bit.
Good.
Where I've been like, hey, and what'll happen is I'm just going to say, hey, John Smith, not a person, in Houston, is a city, but not the one I'm referring to. I hear that you're not playing certain artists.
You'll
Hey,
do this on the air?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Let's not make that a thing. And usually if they know somebody knows and we'll call them out, they'll stop doing it.
Wow, the Bobby Bones shame play. I like it.
Well, you just shouldn't penalize art if you don't love the artist and your job is to share. Like that's your job. If
I
it's a
agree- I
song
couldn't-
that's
I couldn't agree
researching,
with you
don't
more.
let your personal beliefs hold back what you think would be best for your station. But yeah, I've heard that not about Easton, but about a couple other people.
I'm pretty sure it's the case with him, or it was.
Chris Stapleton, "Parachute."
Yes.
You wrote that with Chris?
I did.
Yeah. You and Chris used to write regular or no?
We did. We wrote very regularly for a few years, for several years. Like every, one of those. Usually, if you have like what we call a standing appointment, it'll be every 2 weeks or every month. We're every other Wednesday, or we're the first Tuesday of every month. And so you'll look at your calendar. That way, you've got the appointments coming up, so you can kind of get in a groove with somebody if you enjoy writing with them, or if you do well with them. And if you don't finish the song that day, oh, all right, we'll get it next time. Or so Chris and I did write a lot regularly for years.
I was looking at the Hootie track list because I love Darius. I've been friends with Darius since I was 17.
Yeah.
He was my first ever radio interview.
You met him. I listened to your book. Man.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I did.
That's my dude, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, through format changes and, we've kind of bounced around. And so I'm a huge Hootie fan.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the songwriter listings, and I see you and Chris Stapleton
That's
wrote one of the
right.
Hootie songs.
Yeah.
I think maybe the only one or maybe two that weren't written by Hootie and the Blowfish.
I saw the track listing. I think it is the only one that a Hootie or a Blowfish was not on.
And
So,
I don't have the clip because it's not out yet.
Yeah.
But how does that? First of all, how long ago did you and Chris Stapleton write that song?
That song is called "Hold On," and it's probably 4 years old. Yeah.
And how does the song last for 4 years and then get to somebody?
Well, you want to know the specific story about
Yeah.
that song? I was meeting with Brian Wright, who is the head of A&R at Universal Records. They're the people who are in charge of signing new artists and kind of overseeing recording projects. I was meeting with him probably 4 months ago about a completely unrelated thing. And at the end of the conversation, he goes, "Man, do you have anything for Hootie and the Blowfish?" He said, I just, we're having a hard time just finding just the perfect thing for them. They're writing some good stuff, but we're just looking for something. And I said, I actually have something I think would be perfect for him, and I played it for him right there. He already knew the song because he works with Stapleton, and he just kind of lit up. He goes, "That's it." He said, "That's the best one I've heard. That's it." And then they ended up cutting it. So I was just, if he hadn't brought that up to me, that song, you wouldn't be missing that song right now. That's how weird the business, and you know how weird this business is. It's little things like that can make or break, and a song can be recorded, not recorded. It was literally in passing at the end of a meeting. He said, "I'm looking for something," and I just happened to think of that one song.
So if anybody at any time goes, "Hey, I need a song for Celine Dion," and you really don't have one, but you have a bunch of songs, be like, "Of course, here you go," and just pick one of them and play it.
I would only do that if I really didn't think I have. I wouldn't have said that to Brian if I didn't honestly believe I had a song that they would do very well. Because that's, now you're talking about your credibility, right? And if you have that one shot with somebody and you play them a piece of crap, then they may not ask again. So that specific song you're talking about with Hootie and Blowfish has always been one of my most favorite uncut songs. So I have no problem selling a song if I really, really believe it. And there's not that many I really, really believe in, but that's one of them for sure. So I don't know if I probably wouldn't have a Celine Dion song, to be honest.
I don't know. You've written some good stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Go back to drinking beer for a second. Is that a you and Stapleton track?
Correct.
Because Stapleton's singing.
He sings background
the
on the Luke
background.
song. That's exactly right.
And so
They didn't invite me to come in that day. I don't know. Maybe they gave me the wrong studio.
you probably just misplaced. Because
I-
I get a
I'm
lot of
sure.
invites that don't actually get to me too. And they're like,
Okay.
"Oh, we meant to invite you."
I'm gonna go with that.
Like one of
I'm gonna
those.
go with that.
What's the story on this song?
This is another one where I was sitting on my back porch smoking a cigar, playing my guitar, and I remember that the chorus came to me, or as writers like to say, God whispered it in my ear. Bobby, do you like that? Is that a little more poetic? No, you're not going there. Okay.
I think people, if you really feel that way, I don't feel like God's
I
ever
don't-
whispered a song into my ear.
I don't feel like he has in
Okay.
mind. I don't know why, but that chorus came to me, in its form, which is the 4 lines. I'm going to sit right here on the edge of this pier and watch the sunset disappear. Do you like how I rhyme pier with pier?
Deep.
Yeah. And drink a beer. And so I don't know why it happened. It was with that guitar. There's a picture in here I'm pointing to. And I put it in my phone. I was like, I kind of like the sound of that. And then Chris and I were getting together. And, like all writing appointments, you kind of just start staring at each other and like, "You got anything?" "I don't know. You got anything?" And I said, "Man, I got this little thing. I don't even know what it is." And I played him the chorus. And I remember he laughed because of how long I waited before I went and drank a beer. He just thought it was funny. He said, "That's a really long pause." I said, I know it's long, but it works. He said it did work. And that song, has been another crazy learning experience for me because that song means a whole lot to a whole lot of people. I will play a show and I'll play that song, and invariably somebody will come up and say, "Oh my gosh, we played that at my grandfather's funeral," or it's usually somebody they've lost, which is a powerful thing to hear as a writer. And to me, the weird story is, we had the chorus, which if you listen to the chorus, there's no context to it. It doesn't say why this person's doing what they're doing. It's just 4 lines, right? And so it was like Chris and I knew the answer to the math question. Then we had to go figure out what the actual problem was. And we tried a lot of different ways to we thought it was, maybe he just quit his job and it's kind of a fun, I'm going to sit out here. And we tried, and it never felt right. And we tried a lot. I remember we tried a lot of different ways. And then I don't know which one of us in the room, man, what if that person used to go do this with somebody they just lost? And then it just, everything clicked. Just because we kept trying, and the song was there. And
Did anyone else put that song on hold before Luke got it?
No. It was out for a while before he cut it. I mean, it was probably in town for 6 months or a year. And then Jeff Stevens, his producer, heard it and said, "I think Luke would love that song." And again, it's another case where the song is just the song, but then you match it with Luke and Luke's story, and now it's a thing. And so, again, as a writer, you don't control that. It's just you're just the conduit, and the universe has different plans,
When you and Chris are writing and you guys are going to sing the demo afterward, do you always make Chris sing?
He always wants me to sing because he likes to steal his licks from me. I don't know. A lot of people don't know that. Not always, honestly. Not always. I've got work tapes where we've written and I'm actually singing ill-advisedly I'm singing the in the phone, but usually it's him. Yeah, and he's you want more inside stuff like the Hold On song that Hootie and the Blowfish cut. That is I had a drum loop going in the room, and I just recorded Chris singing it on my iPhone, and that's what we pitched. I mean, we never did anything else. It was just Chris singing in the room
Over a drum loop?
over a drum loop with us playing guitars, just like when you and I write a song, we go, all right, let's put this down so we'll remember how it went. And we never demoed it. We never did anything special. It's
Just an iPhone?
just an iPhone work tape,
Is it on your phone?
probably.
Let's hear a piece of it. Cause
You want to hear Hold On?
yeah, just a
Or
piece of
drink
it.
a beer or what?
Well, yeah, let's any of them.
Let me see if I can pull that up. I bet I have.
Is your whole phone full of?
Yes. It's just full of it. All right, this is. I mean, we can do this, right?
Yeah, of course you can.
With his voice.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm trying.
Which song is this?
This is Hold On.
The one that Hootie cut?
Yeah,
Drum loop?
that's my big fat drum loop. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
And you're going to hear the velvet tones of Chris Stapleton here in a second.
Only heartbreak on 6 o'clock news. Ought to call it 6 o'clock news. Seems like the whole world's gone wrong. It ain't no kind of love song.
Is this what you play to your buddy?
Got to
Did you?
What's that?
Wow.
got to hold on. There ain't nothing that a little love can't
And you know, and Darius can sing that.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you got to have. And what is that? You with the
I
fiddle
was just
or what?
pitching you another song.
Yeah.
Sorry, is this the wrong time for that? Or?
It's interesting that you have that because again, who can sing that with that power unless it's somebody who can sing that.
I don't know. I just write them, man. I try to write them. Yeah. But Darius can do it.
Like Hillary Lindsay will cut songs,
Yeah.
and the artist almost can't sing what she writes.
Carrie
because
Underwood's about one of the few. Otherwise, I mean, if again going real into the weeds, Stapleton had that effect on people when he was primarily known as just a writer in town. I mean, he would sing his own demos, and it would intimidate the artist that the songs were being pitched to, and they would fall in love with the song, and then they'd go in to cut it, and they'd come out going, it's just not the same.
Right, like it's not as good as the person who's saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what they were falling in love with Chris, and they were falling in love with that unbelievable vocal, and he's a perfect example of that. And so now a lot of times with demo singers, the people who are actually singing the songs that we pitch to the artist, you don't want them too good. And even if they're capable of something like Hillary,
Which is why you sing more of them now.
yeah, so now I'm getting a lot of work lately. It's shocking. So no, so and even if they are a capable vocalist of like blowing your mind, you will tell them just tone it down. You want it pitched as generic. That you want the song to be the star, not the singer.
It needs to have a vibe, but it doesn't need to have a vibe.
Man, it's just a vibe, but no tricks and no crazy trills. Because if that artist doesn't like those things or is not capable of those things, they're going to be thinking about it, and they're going, well, I can't do what they're doing. You want it. You want the melody presented in a fairly generic way. It's and it took me a while to learn that too.
I think Caitlin Smith had that effect on people too.
There's a lot of singers.
Blow away the track,
Yeah.
and people be like, I don't know if I can do that.
And it has nothing to do with the song. Even like some people's voice, mine probably is just almost.
Don't stare at the camera. There's a camera looking at you, but it's just part of the whole shindig.
Okay,
You're
it's almost too twangy.
Yeah.
It's got a country East Texas thing to it, and some people don't like to listen to that. And so even though I'm singing the exact same melody that somebody else is singing, I know I should not sing this song. We got to get somebody else. It has nothing to do with the song. None of the lyrics are different. None of the music is different. It's just who's communicating it, and it makes a big deal.
That's an interesting concept, and a lot of people will bring their phones and play like work tapes like that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to hear that, because rarely anymore are the work tapes just blowing things out of the water, because again, they're like, well, if it's too vocal, people will hear it and go, well, I can't do. How would I cut that song
Right.
if I don't have that skill set as the person who's singing the demo?
Yeah. And I mean, there's lots of little tricks. Like, if you're going to be pitching a certain song to a certain artist, you may try to cut it in their key, So you imagine them driving around in their truck listening to demos and, oh, I want this person, I want them to be able to sing along,
Yeah.
So if it's a McGraw, you may go, let's put it in a McGraw key, and stuff like that. I mean, you try any little advantage you can get to make because they're listening to hundreds of songs possibly. So, yeah.
What else do you have on your phone? Let's do another one.
I got lots of stuff on my phone.
Do you have?
I have a lot of stuff that you and I have written. Do you want to? I might have like the drink a beer.
Yeah, see if you can find that one.
Let me see. Let me see.
And do you archive any of those, or if you just lose your phone
I'm just searching for it.
and they don't come in the cloud, they're just gone?
No, I will.
What about for the Jim Beavers Museum after you die?
Yeah. Well, there's already a vibrant one right now in East Texas. This is Stapleton singing "Drink a Beer" right here. Is it okay for me to play him?
Chris has played it on our show.
Okay. Let's see. I don't, him being a recording artist, I don't know if.
When I got the news today,
That's the day we wrote it.
didn't know what to say, so I just hung up the phone. Took a walk, cleared my
Do you
head.
guys put the phone down in the middle of you and just get over the top of the
Yeah.
phone and play it?
Yeah. Well, you normally slide it about 3/4 of the way closest to the singer is the best way. Now I'm going to come in here and take the chorus for Bobby. No.
So I'm gonna say bye
That's the day we wrote it.
on the edge of this street.
That's cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
That
it's
is
cool.
I didn't know I had that on there.
When Chris, because we would have Chris in the studio before he hit, because he was just a songwriter that I thought was awesome. And I was getting in a lot of trouble for bringing random songwriters to perform. And luckily, Chris hit. Not luckily for him, for me, because once he hit, everybody left me alone.
That kind of validated your opinion.
Crushed it. Just they were like,
I can see
"Oh,
that.
okay."
You were in front. You were in front
They
of
were
the
like,
wave.
"No, we're gonna stop. You just do you." Because I'd had some success with breaking a couple artists, but I was getting heat from people like my high ups that did know country music, going, "You shouldn't bring on." And I was still pretty new.
And the idea was like he's an unknown. And you
Yeah,
should-
complete unknown. But I was like, guys, he was doing Josh Turner, Your Man.
Yeah. Baby lock them
And
down.
he- and he came in and, and he played Drink a Beer,
Yeah.
and he played, and they were like, I know he's written these songs, but I just don't think that you should have on. I'm like, well, first, it's my show. Like, you didn't bring me over here to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And no disrespect, but and when he hit, I was so thankful.
That's
I
great,
was just,
man.
because then,
You look like a genius.
and I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was just following what I thought was good.
No, go with the genius thing. It's always better.
I was
man.
number one in
Yeah, yeah,
on the
you were.
Genius
You were
chart.
number one on
Yeah,
the
it was
Genius
amazing.
chart.
So I've run with
You
that
can
ever
count
since.
that.
I've
You
been
can
number
count
one
that
ever
for
since.
sure.
Whenever songwriters come into a room together and you both have had some success in the past, because I'll compare it to you and I, where I haven't had success as a real life songwriter, but I've written a bunch of stuff, either books or some dopey songs. And you go, for me, working with you, I go, I don't know if I want to pitch this idea about having poison ivy in your genitals.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't even really
And I'm
know
like,
this
man,
guy.
I've already written that.
Yeah.
one. I'm sorry.
And it's like, 'cause that one specifically, I was like, I got this idea, and it's about you're with a girl, and it's like, hey, don't run away. It's just poison ivy.
Yeah.
And here you are with Drink a Beer and Parachute, and
I can play you 50 of my poison ivies,
but
though.
I don't know that, right?
Yeah, right.
But I guess my question is there ever that awkward feeling from you when you have this idea, and maybe it's not as dopey as that one, because now we have a rhythm and we have ideas that are too dopey, and we're like, maybe not that one. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's the comfortability after about the third right.
Sure.
Do you ever go, man, I don't want to go, and you have to go to maybe the Warren Brothers or Chris Stapleton and be like, I have this idea about, a sausage factory,
Yeah. Yeah.
and in the sadness after it closes.
Yeah. It is sad. If you love sausage, it's really sad, and it's the only one around. So, yeah. I mean, but I think you learn really quickly if you're doing this every day. If you're not willing to be vulnerable, then and to look, you've heard it. We say dare to suck, and you'll preface, all right, I'm going to dare to suck, and then you're just letting them know you're about to say the stupidest thing, and usually it's half baked. You don't even know what it means, but you think there's something in there, and then sometimes somebody's like, oh, what if you boom, and they'll twist it and you'll be like, that's exactly why I had to say it out loud, and it'll make perfect sense. So. But with you and I, like trying to write like funny songs and stuff, I knew I had to come in here and be willing to look stupid. I didn't know you very well. I really didn't know you at all. I didn't know your sense of humor, your personality, but we found each other, and now, like you said, we're comfortable, and I can play you something, and you can go, yeah, that doesn't really work, and I don't. That's fine with me. It's like, oh, because I know other things will work.
It's funny too
'Cause
how
I,
you
'cause
go.
I trust your instincts, because I very much trust your instincts. So
Whenever we were sitting in a hotel room in maybe Amarillo, and it was like 4, and I'll just pull up my phone that we did.
were we sitting? Were we laying down?
We were well. I was laying down on the
Yeah.
bed. You were
Oh,
sitting.
okay,
To be
thank you.
fair,
Thank you.
and we were, and I'm not sure who actually. Maybe it was me. I hate to say it was me if it wasn't. Maybe it was me who goes, "We should do a song about a fanny pack." I'm not sure. Was it you?
It was me.
Was it?
But I
But
don't
I turned
care.
into
But again, it doesn't
no,
matter.
it doesn't matter to me either. But it was like, why don't we do it as a rap song? Because that's where it came in with me.
Because I told my wife about your show. And I
Is that
said-
what it was?
I said, he's got this funny song where he puts these jorts on
'Kay.
stage. And she said, did he have a fanny pack? I said, no, but he should, because that would be like the next gag, And then that literally just happened maybe that morning. I was telling my wife about watching The Raging Idiots. So,
Maybe I should know who has ideas. Because again, I was like, I don't know who had this idea.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
But
To me,
does it not matter to songwriters when you're? Does some people get butthurt over it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't, because the way I look at it is, it's if you brought the idea in, even if you wrote 90% of the song, that I look at it like that song would not have existed if you had not given birth to it the way it was given birth to. Now, unless you've got a fully realized song, you just kind of come in and to an artist or somebody and being like, hey, maybe we could change the third line. That's a different thing, and that always feels very skeevy to me. But, and I also believe if you're serious about doing this for a living, it's going to work itself out. There's going to be other times where you're the dummy in the room and you just caught a lucky break and somebody was on fire, and that's just part of the process. If you run around worrying about credit or who did the line, whose idea was this, who came up with that, you'll drive yourself nuts, man. And people, humans want to do that, but you got to fight that, I think, if you want to be healthy.
Well, so I had this idea about a fanny pack, right?
Really interesting, because I've already written it.
Oh, my bad.
No,
So, but I remember where it came from you, and
probably you know what? It probably came from my wife. See, so should I be sitting here taking credit for her?
You should
She's
not.
the one that said.
then she should get the writing
Yeah,
credit.
you see it? Not writing credit, but
No, all
if
the writing
she,
credit.
But let's back it up. If
Right.
you want, if I hadn't told her about George, she wouldn't have said fanny pack.
So I get the credit.
So
Back to me.
you.
Back to me.
But honestly, you can follow that thread all the way. It's like, well, then where do you stop? So
This song, Fanny Pack, you pitched the idea, and I was like, great. I do remember going, hey, let's make it like a rap song.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you've ever written a rap song before.
I have,
Have you?
of course.
Which one?
You can't tell by looking at me.
Not at
Okay,
all.
nothing you've heard.
And it turned into this. Did this ever work for you when I texted you?
I got the second one
Okay.
worked it.
And I'll play a little bit of it.
Yeah,
And it turned into like a funk,
yeah,
white boy.
it's great.
This morning with a lot to do, but my pants didn't have enough pocket room. I got my keys, my phone, my chapstick too. Good thing I got a pouch like a kangaroo. If you need a rubber band or a real light snack, if you need an EpiPen to bring your granny back, it's your fanny pack.
I remember Brandon Ray
Bring
going,
your granny
if
back."
you need an EpiPen
Yeah.
to bring your granny back. And I thought, that's the
Yeah,
funniest line.
it's really funny
Yeah.
because that means Granny was gone.
And
You're
he
gonna bring her
needed an
back.
EpiPen. And so, and we're like 70%.
But there's no way
through the
that
track of
song would have
song.
happened if we four had not written it exactly where we wrote it.
Agree.
It's just, and so you got to let the process. To me, you're doing it right if you say the song is the star. The song is the star, and all that matters is the song. When you walk in that room, that's what happens. Check your ego at the door, and it's all about the song. And you walk out, and you don't smack talk or anything about, well, I had the idea and this, and that's not in service of the song. That's my theory.
Well, then for now, I want to talk about that song. I'm going to say, well, so I wrote a song called Jorts, and it came back all the way around. So
Right.
then I wrote Fanny Pack.
Right. That's
In
fine.
essence.
Whatever. However.
I just,
But this is your domain. This stuff is your domain.
yeah,
right?
I'm totally playing. But I think we're going to cut because you're coming on the road this weekend, and you're actually going to play, and we're going to make the live record
Right.
in Little
I'm
Rock.
so very excited. There's 2 shows in Little Rock, right? Are they back to back?
So no pressure.
Yeah, I know. Your home.
There's only
your home.
There's only one show in Little Rock.
Okay.
So
Right,
we got to
okay.
make it work, or it doesn't
Okay.
count.
All right. I'll do my best.
We got
I've
lots
got
of
all the
songs.
songs charted out. I really do.
Is it weird? Is it cool? Maybe both. That when we write a song and I take it and I record and I play it immediately and we record it and I send you the video.
Yeah.
I mean, is that different than what?
It's I've told you it's the most refreshing crazy thing for everybody listening. Like Bobby and I, literally the day of a show, might write a song, and he fearlessly will get up there and do it that night. I'm like, how are you even going to remember the words? But he'll do it.
And sometimes I don't, but
it doesn't matter. But
Right.
he immediate feedback. And the way I work is I say, oh, we should have done this. We can do that. It just tweaks in the comedy
love
world.
notes.
I love them,
it.
man.
And I'll send them and go, okay, look at this. What do you think didn't work? What did work?
No question.
We've been changing songs that we wrote 4 weeks ago.
I mean, if Seinfeld at his level can grind on timing and then I wish songwriters would do it more. They don't. I like to rewrite songs. I'm always like, the song's not done until it's cut. And, sometimes I'll completely rewrite a song and then realize the first way was the right way. And I just did that recently with a song I wrote with my brother. I said, hey, man, I think we missed it. I'll be this. And then I played it for him. He was like, yeah, I like the other one better. I said, I think I do too now. But I've spent hours, But the immediate feedback of you playing a song live and knowing when people laugh and me moving from country songwriter to, raging idiot writer, is been such a refreshing mind thing for me, because the lyrics are so important. You can't cram too many in because your audience has to hear every single word. It's like a joke.
It's like a joke.
If you don't get the setup, then the punchline doesn't matter. And of course, vocally, you Stapleton. I mean, I can't even tell the difference.
I
half
can't
the time.
either.
So
That's why I don't cut songs anymore, because artists
know.
can't cut them.
I get it. It's been so nice just to know, guy, he can do anything with this song. So no, it's been, dude. This is no BS. It's been the most fun I've had in such a long time. You can ask my wife. She's like, "You're a new man." I was like, "I know." It's been. I was kind of born to end up probably getting to help somebody like you. So it's been great.
Well, let me ask you a few questions here that have nothing to do with your career. Do you have any Grammys?
No.
I know. I just wanted
I
to ask
got
that.
2 Grammys.
No.
Grandmother?
Oh,
hold
okay,
on.
got it.
Oh,
got it,
you say
got it.
grannies?
Yeah, Grammys.
Oh, I had 2 grannies.
Do you have any Academy Awards?
No.
My favorite
Are
thing
you
to
going
do.
for the EGOT,
I
bro?
know. My favorite thing to do, Jim, is if a Tim McGraw song comes on the radio, Eddie and I do it every time. It doesn't matter. As long as it's not the one he wrote, we're like, hey, did you write this one?
Yeah.
If it's a Dierks one, we're like, hey, did you write this one? We know he didn't.
Yeah,
We
knowingly. No Grammy. No, I don't really have any awards.
No, except for all your number ones. Your 9 number ones.
Yeah.
Except for
But
that.
I've never won like a CMA or ACM, like one.
What's the most number ones you've had in a year? Have you had 2 in a year before?
I've had 2 in a year. I think I almost had 3 in a year one time, but it may have been 13 months or something. But who's counting?
Yeah, not you.
And
Whose year was it? At certain year charts,
Wasn't
it
my
was all
year,
in one year. The
obviously.
Aztec calendar, maybe you got 3 in a year. Why not use that calendar?
I'd love to use the Aztec calendar.
Okay, let me ask you a few of these. What's the last movie you saw in theaters?
My wife and I went and watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I haven't seen it. Mike saw it. You like it, Mike?
That's a good movie.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I like anything Tarantino, and I thought it was great. I like Brad Pitt, and I thought it was good.
What's the last concert you bought tickets for?
Oh my gosh, dude. I honestly cannot think of one. Yeah, being in the business, I can't think of when I bought tickets for a concert. I think I might have paid for but not attended tickets for One Direction for my daughter.
So she went.
She went.
Do your kids think it's cool that you've written songs?
They might have at some point, but they don't. It doesn't seem to register with them as anything weird.
Are they musical?
They both like music and they both can sing. Neither one of them really play anything. But they both. My son's 15 and he loves like classic rock and Tom Petty, and my daughter loves 80s George Strait. She's been wearing me out and listening to like early George Strait on the way to school the last few weeks. So they have. I think a lot of kids of their generation have very eclectic tastes, and so but they're musical in the sense that they like music and they can sing. So
I'll give you one more. Instead of a last meal, you're offered a last song to sing before you die.
that I wrote.
To listen to before you don't have to sing it because you're probably dying. To listen to before you die. You don't have to write it. It could be any song in the world.
Before I die, like I know I'm gonna
Like
die.
it's like as soon as the song's over, you're dead. So it's the last song
There's
you
a
get to listen to.
You know what? It's interesting you say it. A friend of mine named Troy Tomlinson, who has been my publisher for a long time. He's a big wig here in town. Turned me on to a song by the Avett Brothers called "No Hard Feelings." Have you ever heard that song?
No.
And just a few weeks ago, he said, "You got to listen to this song," and it literally made me cry. And I hardly cried anything. I mean, I cried knowing I had to come over here. I cried knowing I'm gonna have to go out with you this weekend.
Tears of happiness.
So that's well,
obviously.
yeah. It's beautiful.
He's crying right now. Mike, you gotta shut that down.
Cue the tears.
Let me end on this question here. You've written with Taylor Swift.
I have. Which version of Taylor Swift? No, I wrote with the 14-year-old version of Taylor
Right.
Swift. Yeah, yeah.
So what's it like to write a song with 14-year-old Taylor Swift?
Well, she was not, quote unquote Taylor Swift yet at that point, obviously. So this is before she put out her first record. She was pretty new to town and was making the rounds around town looking for co-writes. And I'm not sure who set us up. But she couldn't write until 3:30 because she had school. And she and her mother would sit on the other side of the door, appropriately so. And I learned a great lesson. Have I told you this story before?
Continue with your story.
Okay. I learned a great lesson from her because, at that time I was, I guess, in my 30s or something, and thought I was this real songwriter or something. And I remember, like, what am I doing in a room with a 14-year-old girl? What in the world can we have in common? And this just it still sounds crazy, right? That a teenage girl became what she is and what she was. I mean, it's unbelievable. She's singular, And so I remember having a bad attitude about the write. Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And then getting in the room with her, and she's very pleasant, but she knew exactly what she wanted to say. She was, in a good way, pushing me around the room. Like, I would go, well, an experienced writer like myself might say this, and she'd be like, no, that's not how I would say it, And so what I learned from her is that from an artist's perspective, she knew exactly who she was. She knew exactly what she wanted to say. She knew exactly where she was going. And to me, that is like, now that's the number one thing I look for somebody. It's not even what their voice sounds like. It's not what they look like. It's like if they have a vision and a focus of who they are, that blows everything else away. Because, man, there's lots of great singers and great writers, and turn on American Idol, you're on there. I mean, there's just great talent everywhere. But the artists and the ones that connect, know why they're going to connect, and they connect with people.
And the song that you guys wrote,
I don't remember the title. I don't even think we finished it. I think we wrote maybe twice and never finished it.
you wrote 2 times
I think we wrote twice.
and didn't finish one song? And is that your fault?
Probably. She probably sensed that I wasn't buying into her, and probably ended I don't want to speak for her, probably ended the thing early. And I'll give you a little coda to this story. We both wrote for Sony Publishing, which has tons and tons of writers. And several years later, Sony has this big, every year they have this big annual Christmas brunch where all the employees come, all the families, hundreds of people, and then they will give out awards. There's always a who's worked here for 20 years award, who's worked here for 50, and then they'll have an artist of the year, artist writer of the year award, and a writer of just a songwriter of the year award. And so that year, I got the writer of the year award. She was going to get the artist songwriter of the year award. This is just at a brunch at a country club, right? And she was already Taylor Swift at this point. So we were sitting at the same table, and I was kind of like, hey, Taylor, remember me? And she's like, oh, yeah. Anyway, so they awarded her and gave her award. And she went up to say a few words, and she was just like, oh, Sony, you guys are always been my family. You believed in me when nobody else did. I mean, I've just grown so much since I've been associated with you guys. I mean, I remember when I first started, I was writing songs with people like, and she looked over, people like Jim Beavers. I just always remember that. I thought it was great. And I know how she meant it, but I know how I took it.
Yeah.
So I was, I thought that was funny. That's my Tay-Tay story.
It's a good one, and it's also, there's a lesson there. Like, if somebody knows who they are,
Now I know.
don't push back.
And if they know how to connect, if they have a connection, if they know how to connect to people, even if it's not people I connect with, I pay a lot of attention to that because that's an authenticity that you can't make a song make somebody do that, So,
Well, in this podcast, Mike, I just caught him in a lie. He did win an award. He just said he never won an award, and then 3 minutes later he goes, I won an award.
Well,
I'm just saying, you just contradicted
an
yourself
award.
right
it's like being
It
best Jim Beavers at my own house or something award. It's not.
And have you won that?
I did. I did
Okay.
two times
Well,
in a row.
good for you.
Yeah.
Well, listen, do you have anything, you don't have to mention it now, are there songs out now that people are like, oh, I think I like this. Maybe it's on hold. Is that always a thing?
Always.
You're just always wondering.
You're always wondering. I'm wondering about the Hootie song. Will that be a single? Are they going to do a single? Will that be the one? I mean, because I love the song, and so all you can do is sit and wait, and then try not to get too depressed if it doesn't happen. Keep moving forward.
Of all the ones that you wrote, of all the hits you had, what's the song that you want to be remembered for?
I'd probably have. Could I say two songs?
I asked for one.
I know you only asked for one.
Sure.
Well, Watching Airplanes will always be special because it's a wacky song, and it was my first number one, and it was a number one. And then Drink a Beer, solely because of how I've learned that it has affected people.
Yeah, that's a thing.
It's a thing that
Yeah.
I very, very much underestimated the power of it, and I don't take any kind of credit for it. And yeah, so that's even though it's kind of a sad connection, it's an emotional deal.
Well, here's a little bit of Drink a Beer. We'll play it one more time. Everybody, Jim Beavers, episode 199. Did you have fun? First podcast?
I can't believe it.
We've
Is that
done an hour.
it?
We've done an hour. What do you mean that's it? We've done over an hour.
Have we really?
Yeah. 7:05 p.m. now. Look at you. Come in.
It's easy when you're talking about yourself, right? It goes by. It goes by quick.
You know all the answers.
You're a good yeah, you know all the answers.
You know all the answers.
I was nervous, man. I told my wife, I said, I don't really know. Am I supposed to have stories ready? Or
Yeah, I was asked. I was like, no, just have them show up. And one, we already know each other. I'm not even wearing shoes.
yeah, I'm not wearing underwear. So.
Yeah, so it works.
Yeah.
I'm actually wearing your socks and you're wearing my underwear.
I know.
So it's a
I
whole
need to
thing.
get those back, by the way.
All right. Is there anything you want to promote?
No.
Okay, there we have it.
Raging Idiot show in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City and Little Rock.
baby.
That's right.
That's it.
But by the time they hear this,
It'll be too late.
no, there'll be a couple days. But I think
Yeah.
they're both sold out.
Are they really?
Yeah. So are you? You can be honest. Were you surprised when you would see the amount of people that would come to our shows?
Yes.
Because why?
Because I'm not a daily listener of yours, and I haven't ever been.
Right.
I have a 5-minute commute, and so, and I just didn't realize how big. I'm sorry, I didn't realize how big the impact was, and the way I told it to my wife was, it's like he's got a very loyal, like they're not passive Bobby Bones fans. I mean, there's like it's a thing. I know that's not very well said, but it's a. I think you have it when I talk about a connection, like Taylor Swift having a connection with you. I think you have a very specific connection with a very specific, pretty good sized group of people, and it's beyond entertainment. That's what I think.
And that's what I told you to say. So thank you for.
Yeah. So anyway, do you still need this piece of paper?
I don't. All right, that's episode 199 with Jim Beavers. All right, and everybody, you can watch this up on YouTube.
I'm glad my profile is the star here because
Well,
it's
no, it's not
so
your profile.
strong.
It's this one right here.
Oh, even
that
better.
camera. And now he's doing rapper hands to
Yeah.
it for some reason. He does mini rapper hands that we don't know about yet.
Right.
All right, episode 199. Thank you very much, and don't forget, check out Velvet's Edge with Kelly Henderson, and check out 4 Things with Amy Brown, and a lot of the other podcasts here on the Nashville Podcast Network. All right, bye guys.